Hey there, internet friends, and welcome to That D Plus Show. Class is in session for the only show from that nerdy site that lets you know what kind of quality to expect right from the name. I'm your host, Trevor Starkey, and each week we dive into a different Disney Plus offering and discuss its history, how it holds up today, and our general impressions of the topic. If you like what you hear, please remember to like, subscribe, rate, review, share the podcast with your friends, all that fun stuff. Joining me today, we have Cameron Abbott. How you doing, Cameron?
Hey, what's going on, nerds? I'm doing good. How are you?
Excellent. We have Frank Bazzani. How you doing, Frank?
Doing good. I'm excited to circle back and finish off talking about Star Wars Visions with y'all.
Yeah, there we go. And joining us, he was supposed to join us the last time around, but he ended up having his power went out that day, so he ended up having to kind of just do it as a 3-person show. But we've got Christian Puente, aka Pixel Brave. How you doing, Christian?
Hey. I had a funny Star Wars quip, but then I got distracted thinking about the story of that day and how it was very much, Christian's very good, no bad day kind of thing, because the power is out, so no internet, and I was doing some video editing for a client, and I couldn't edit, especially because my laptop it was only working if I had it plugged to a TV. So I was like, whose TV can I find? And it was just a nightmare. But I'm glad that we were able to make it work.
Yeah,
today.
yeah, we certainly missed you the last time around because, again, of course, you are our anime expert around the That Nerdy site ecosystem. Of course, having run that anime pod in the past with us. So before we hop in today, as kind of Frank alluded to, today is going to be our part 2 of Star Wars Visions, where we're going to specifically focus on the middle 3 episodes of the 9 that were launched last month or back whenever they were launched now. Time is a flat circle. And those 3 episodes are going to be The Village Bride, The Ninth Jedi, and TOB1 or Toby. But before we hop into any of that, I just want to, since Cameron, Frank, and I kind of all gave our initial impressions last time around, what are your thoughts on kind of the series as a whole, Christian?
Overall, I'm very happy with all of the selections. When the first trailer came out, there was definitely that feeling that I think a lot of people had of like, oh, this one I will probably like the most. This one, we kind of had our general feelings, and I was definitely anticipating, okay, one of these I'm kind of really going to flop on. But overall, I really do enjoy all of them so far. And I won't talk any about the ones to be coming up soon, but at least as far as these 6 that, we'll be free to talk about, they're all great. I love the diversity. On the flip side of that, I definitely recognize the critique people have about hey, they all have these certain tropes, which I understand the critique, but I'm also like, hey, if someone had said, here, Christian, here's Star Wars, I can see how I might want to use those same ones too, especially if it's not coordinated with the other ones. Maybe those those patterns wouldn't have happened if maybe there was a bit more of awareness of who's working on what each other's stories are.
Mm-hmm.
But still overall love the diverse styles and approaches, and it's all very anime, and no, I'm having a good time with it.
Excellent.
I
Yeah.
actually was rewatching some of the episodes today.
Nice. Yeah, I definitely, when I was rewatching, in particular the Village Bride today, I was like, oh yeah, I mean, this is basically the same at a macro level. It's pretty much the same story as the duel that we talked about in the first episode, the very first episode of outsider comes in and protects a village from bandits basically using lightsabers and the Force and stuff. It's like, oh yeah, I guess that that is probably a little too similar, but yeah, obviously I think the biggest one that we joked about a little bit last time and is just the recurrence of I have a bad feeling about this across so many of these, which again it's a staple of the series, but there's a difference between it popping up once per 2-hour movie versus once per 15-minute anime.
Yeah.
When you can watch all of these in 1 or 2 sittings and get 8 or 9 I have a bad feeling about this references, it's just gonna feel a little more in your face, I guess.
Which is what made there. I will tease it now. We won't go into it, but there is a phrase in TOB1 that I was like, oh, that's very refreshing. That's new to hear, but it's definitely a Star Wars line. I like that. It's there. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, before we actually, I guess before we hop in, since we didn't have you on for the first three for the dual, what was it Tatooine Rhapsody and the Twins? Did you have anything in particular of those three you wanted to give a shout out to, give some love to?
I'll just give like really micro reviews, like but I'm sure my feelings are very similar to a lot of people's out there. It's just that the visuals of the duel very nice. I like the mystery and the speculation that comes with it. Well, what is this guy? Was he a Sith? Is he just someone who was force sensitive? I overall, like, just speaking in general with the Star Wars canon, always am much more in favor of the idea of just normal people, almost like the Miles Morales, like anyone can wear the mask. I really wish Star Wars embraced more of anyone can use the Force. When The Force Awakens was announced as a new title, I thought we would be getting a whole bunch of new characters who would just be, here's a rebel fighter and he's a great pilot because he has the Force. He's not a Jedi or anything like that. I wanted to see more of that. So that's where I particularly lie as far as the speculation of who this guy was. But yeah, absolutely great visuals with the black and white and a few colors and stuff. Bohemian Rhapsody, that was one that I was kind of like, hey, maybe I don't know how I'll feel about that one. But I watched it both in all of these. I watched in both languages, but
Yeah.
The Japanese voices though definitely very nostalgic. Like it reminded me of like a lot of anime in like the Toonami area that had similar like kind of rock vibes because it's in general a rock type episode, and I loved like that the chibi style of it all. I just loved the style, and I liked how it's just about music. He's like, hey, it's not a lightsaber. I'm gonna save this with the power of music.
Yeah.
Oh no, my throat. And the Twins, I definitely agree with like the critique on that. Like the dialogue, the story as it's written is pretty baseline, and that the star of that one is the style and the directing, which I hope it doesn't deter too many people from checking out Trigger, because Trigger, usually their shows have both the 1-2 punch of a great story and great visuals. It might have been like, animation takes a lot of time, so it might have just been like, hey, we just want to make sure we knock the visuals out, so let's just focus on that and let's just at least get some surface level story. Like maybe that's the limitation of having just one quick short, is what maybe that's where some of the shortcomings came.
Yeah, if we pad out their lines, we can just sit on that one image while they deliver the line for a long time, and then we don't have to spend as much time on animation. I like that as a potential reason of why that one
That's definitely their vibe,
so
though.
like
If you
there.
That's definitely their vibe. If you watch a lot of their they totally put that in their face. Like, look, we're just taking this one PNG and just multiplying it to create a crowd. Like they definitely, like, that's their brand, is high stylization with as much time saving effort by repeating images and animation and stuff like that. That's totally the Trigger vibe.
Nice.
Yeah. So.
Cool. Back to these episodes. So in particular, first, I guess, why did we pick Star Wars Visions Part 2 / or why did we come back to Star Wars Visions? Because it was a cool series, and we loved doing all our Summer of Star Wars stuff, and we would have come back to this sooner had it not come out like right before Halloween, and we had that whole month of like content kind of that was more in the spirit of the season. So, but yeah, it's been on the cards to circle back around to Star Wars Visions for a little while now. Yeah, Christian.
It's funny is that you'd send me the doc, to the viewers out there, audience members out there, and it has the kind of the rundown, and I saw why did we pick it, and it says because Summer of Star Wars was fun. But in the way that I read it, and me being the anime head that I am, I thought it said because Summer Wars was fun, and Summer Wars is a fantastic anime movie. And I was like, did Trevor recently watch Summer Wars, and so he's just can't wait to talk anime again? And it wasn't until maybe a few moments ago that I realized it said because Summer of Star Wars,
Nice.
not Summer Wars.
Yeah, no, I've never heard of Summer
is
Wars.
Awesome.
But...
Oh my god. Okay, Summer Wars is fucking awesome.
All right.
Which we can talk about more later. I want to. I don't want to do.
We can circle back around to it if we need to. So a little bit of the history lesson here. These episodes, as was this whole series, was originally released September 22nd, 2021. They have a runtime of usually 15 to 20 minutes per episode. The Ninth Jedi in here, in this batch, is notable in that is the longest of the batch. I think around like 23, 25 minutes, something like that. In the Star Wars timeline of things, we had The Bad Batch earlier this year that ran from May till August of 2021. We have Star Wars Visions here that came out in September. And up next, basically, we have The Book of Boba Fett, which has, since the last time we did this, has been dated. We will officially be getting that December 29th. And that also had a new trailer drop, I think yesterday as we're recording this. So lots of Star Wars stuff to look forward to. Also, I think in the time since since we did the first Star Wars Visions one, I'm pretty sure I went and did my Disneyland trip after that. So I have a lightsaber of my own now, which I won't bother pulling out right now, but it matches Christian's background. I went with the purple.
Oh.
So yeah. And I'm already planning on a trip back to Disneyland because I've missed it. Anyway, the roll call, who's who of the film or series. Much like the last time we did this, gonna just kind of run through each of the three episodes. For the director for The Village Bride is Hitoshi Haga, and of the studio Kinema Citrus. They have previously worked on Made in Abyss, Codebreaker, Yu Yu Shiki, Kumamiko, and this one caught my eye because it's the only one I actually recognized, Dot Hack / Quantum. They did a series of stuff with Bandai Namco on the Dot Hack series. So I saw that and was like, hey, I know Dot Hack. I played Dot Hack. I know Cameron has a fondness and love for Dot Hack. So shout out to that. The director of The Ninth Jedi is Kenji Kamiyama. And working with Production IG, the studio on that one. Shingeki no Kyojin, Haikyuu. That's another one I recognized. Psychopass. They also did a lot of the Ghost in the Shell stuff, as well as Tales of Symphonia. They've done a lot of the cutscenes for those games. And then Toby, or T0B1, or TOB1, I don't know, was directed by Abel Gongora. Of Science Saru, who has worked on Inu O. Apologies if I'm butchering any of these. Also Super Shiro, Devilman Crybaby, and the food chain episode of Adventure Time. I've never watched Adventure Time, but like what I've seen of Adventure Time mashing up with the art style of this, I was like, I could see that crossover appeal. Yeah. Just before we go further, Christian, as you are certainly the expert, did I miss anything of note there, or any of those in particular standouts that people should check out?
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Made in Abyss. That's an Amazon Prime anime show. I believe it's original. And then I think it went straight to
Content warning on that one, though.
Yeah, there's definitely for mature audiences because of gore and blood and harrow situations.
I actually think it's just because these are it stars children going through traumatic stuff.
Yes, it's very traumatic, mature audience stuff, big M, but also very beautiful as well in the art style. And the long and short of it is that actually I won't even go into the plot. I just Google it, get started checking it out. But I do. It was a beautiful anime though. For Production IG, Haikyuu is one of my top 3 probably all anime all time. During this pandemic quarantine, in lockdown, I've just been rewatching it more times than I could ever count.
Mm-hmm. This is, correct me if I'm wrong, yeah. That's the volleyball one, right?
It is the volleyball one.
That's the volleyball one that everybody's obsessed with. Yeah.
I never watched sports anime. I never grew up with a familiarity with volleyball at all. But it walks you through everything. But the characters are so endearing. Everybody that watches this show, just be prepared to adopt 9 new sons, and all their best friends too. That, you just care about everybody, and you care so much about their rivals too, the antagonists. You just want the best for every character. And one of my favorite parts is how much the characters learn from one another. It just reminds me a lot of the relationship a lot of us in the Kind of Funny community and the friends we've made at convention stuff. It reminds me a lot of that when I watch it. That's probably why I like it so much. Is we haven't been together in a long time, and just seeing the camaraderie. I love it.
Nice.
Um,
Science Saru, I will say I don't have a lot of experience with him. I think I heard you can come in, so I'll give you a moment.
oh
Just
no, I
wanted to
was just
say,
gonna say,
Mhm.
Kenji Kamiyama is like a legendary anime director.
Mhm.
He's the director behind basically every Ghost in the Shell standalone complex.
Mhm.
He was also behind Eden of the East, which is like is a crazy anime concept thing. He's just a legendary director who's been in the industry for a really long time, and even though he works at Production IG, he has like a very slim list of credits in comparison to others because he really just works on what he wants to.
Mhm.
Um, but he is really really freaking cool. Love his work, especially like the art style definitely screams like Moribito, Ghost in the Shell type like character drawings and whatnot. Um, but it's just like it's all really fucking cool.
The other titles on here under Production IG, like Psychopaths, like a lot of people have said great things about them. Ghost in the Shell, I'm only familiar with the movie, but it has like a long-standing legacy of like spin-offs and sequels and such.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Production IG is a good uh, entry into this team, this Avengers of Star Wars anime.
Yeah, there you go.
With Science Saru, the one that worked on Toby, I'm not fairly familiar with them. Devilman Crybaby is the only one that I recognize,
Mm-hmm.
and that show was not for me. I saw the first episode and I had to stop there. But I do recognize that a lot of people really love it. And it's such a Devilman Crybaby, like it's such a. It reminds me of like 90s MTV, like Beavis and Butthead style of like crude animation that you got to respect, and you're like, hey, they know what they want to do and they're going for it, and it might be a turnoff for some people, including myself, but you kind of still got to respect that they're kind of putting themselves so much out there. So
Cool.
it's got to recognize the talent there. Seeing the little factoid there about like the Adventure Time collaboration reminded me of Studio Trigger had actually, I don't recall if you had brought this up before, but I believe the director for the twins also collaborated with to help out with directing in one of the Steven Universe episodes, and
Yeah,
I think he helped out on some of the scenes in the Steven Universe movie too.
I think I don't remember if I definitely knew that nugget. I don't remember if it came up on the show or not, but
But there's definitely got
I
to be some
definitely
kind of
saw
love
that
there because
in some of my research.
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah,
trying.
and to anyone who likes the animation of Studio Trigger from the Duel, there's a show that they produced also called Little Witch Academia, in which Rebecca Sugar and her husband Ian James Cordy actually show up as NPCs, in the crowd and stuff. So there's definitely it's cool to see the East and the West have so much respect and collaboration with one another.
Excellent. So the writers of these 3 episodes for The Village Bride, we have Hitoshi Haga, who was the director, pulling double duty alongside Takehito Onishi. On the Ninth Jedi, Kenji Kamiyama did the writing and directing on that one. And then on Toby, we have Yuichiro Kido was the writer of that. I did not pull a complete listing of the cast. I just kind of pulled out the hey, here are the big stars they kind of brought into each of these episodes. And apologies for focusing solely on the English cast. I'm never going to be able to identify what great other anime stuff the Japanese voice talent was in, but focusing on the English cast here, we have for The Village Bride, Karen Fukuhara playing F, who was Katana in the last Suicide Squad movie, or the first Suicide Squad movie, not the Suicide Squad.
This is Katana.
Yeah, this is Katana. She has my back. Her sword traps the souls of the people she kills. Where was she in the Suicide Squad? Rick Flag needed somebody watching his back in that one.
Yeah. I will say she's the female in
That's I have that. Yeah, I have that pulled up.
Oh, did you? Okay,
yeah.
sorry. I thought you were like, I'm like, that's the weird one that you put up front.
No, yeah, no, that was the next one. Is she can currently be seen as Kimiko on The Boys on Amazon Prime. And then
she also has a YouTube channel.
Oh, very cool. And then Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa playing Valko, best known probably to many as Shang Tsung from the 1995 Mortal Kombat. And I pulled in, of course, because Logan is a diehard Bond fan. He's also featured in License to Kill, one of the Timothy Dalton Bond movies. Very extensive voice acting career as well, but I will always think of him as Shang Tsung. On the Ninth Jedi, we have Kimiko Glenn playing Lakara, who I think pretty much had her breakout with Orange is the New Black, but she's also Penny Parker in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And then she was recently in the DuckTales series, and I just always want to give a shout out because she's a Phoenix local, or she did theater with people I know here in Phoenix before she kind of got her big break. So it's always cool seeing some of those people like her and Emma Stone. I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm like 2 degrees away from you. Simu Liu playing her father, Lajima. Of course, Shang-Chi in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. And then Masi Oka as the very non-Jedi named Ethan here. I remember and think of fondly from Heroes, but he was also on Hawaii 5-0 for many years. I think he also does a lot, like he does stuff in game development now. Like I remember back when Fig was first getting announced, which was like the Double Fine like version of Kickstarter. I think he was like working on something with that. He might have been like a producer for the Outer Wilds. I think. I might also just be making that up now, but I feel like I remember those images kind of like all tied together. But I don't know.
Well, he was
definitely from Heroes.
When he was acting, he was also a digital effects artist. And he worked on the Star Wars prequels. He worked at ILF. So
there you go.
Or ILM, sorry, ILM. He worked at ILM, so this is like his Star Wars Homecoming.
And I am not wrong. He also produced Outer Wilds. He's a producer.
Way to go,
of
Trevor.
Outer Wilds.
He's a really cool dude.
Yeah. Cool. And then in Toby or Obi-Wan, we have Jaden Waldman playing the titular character, who we talked about in the last episode because he was also the like young chieftain in the Duel episode, and he had previously been in Pinkalicious and Peterific as well as in Weathering with You. And then Kyle Chandler playing Mitaka, who just because I have to give it a shout out from Early Edition from like the 90s. I remember that being a show that I watched with my dad all the time, but also more probably better known in from his role on Friday Night Lights, and also in like the recent Godzilla movies, I guess. Godzilla and no, just the Godzilla movies, not the Kong Skull Island, just the Godzilla movies, but yeah. Cool. So some trivia, since a little bit more time has passed since these episodes came out, I had a little bit more trivia to pull from, as people have added to it. Specifically on The Village Bride, this short specifically deals with the remnants after Order 66 ends the Clone War. At the end, the lead character takes off in a Z-95 Headhunter, the forerunner to the X-Wing. In The Ninth Jedi, according to executive producer Joss Rhimes, 2 different ideas were pitched to take place in the same world. By combining them into one story, it became the longest of the 9 original shorts at roughly 22 minutes. Takes place sometime after Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, given that, like, Jedi and lightsabers and stuff have not been around, presumably sometime after all of that stuff happens. And then lastly, on this one, in other Star Wars media, Jedi Master Mace Windu's fighting style is called Form 7, which skirts the gray area between the light side and dark side, resulting in an aggressive fighting style. This is the canon explanation for Mace Windu's purple lightsaber, light side mixed with dark side, blue mixed with red. In Episode 5, The Ninth Jedi, a character is shown to be easily swayed by both the light side and the dark side, and that character's lightsaber becomes purple. And then Toby, easily had the most of the trivia.
Yeah.
The ship Toby finds is a T-16 Skyhopper. Ship can be seen in the background of the in the Lars family garage in Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope. And the Inquisitor uses a TIE Advanced V1. This variant of the TIE Fighter was introduced in Star Wars Rebels Empire Day. Takes place in the same time period as Star Wars Rebels. The drawings on the wall are basically prophecies, I guess, because they show Luke Skywalker holding up the lightsaber and a large group of X-Wings flying upwards in formation, like on the original Episode 4 poster. Also visible are the Jedi Temple from Coruscant with several Jedi, including 2 resembling Yoda and Kit Fisto. There are 4 A-Wings chasing 4 TIE Fighters, and a large space battle involving Star Destroyers, TIE Fighters, X-Wings, and Y-Wings. Below this, there are marching AT-ATs and AT-ST walkers, flanked by stormtroopers. The duel between General Grievous and Obi-Wan Kenobi is represented, as is a battle between 2 Jedi and 1 opponent using 2 lightsabers, possible representation of the fight between Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan, and Darth Maul. So a little bit of prophecy and then a little bit of history in that one, I guess. Or really just a whole bunch of Easter eggs that the studio wanted to throw in there. The Imperial craft that launches from Star Destroyer toward Mitaka's planet is a TIE Reaper attack lander, first seen in Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. So that might be conflicting information there between 2 of these little trivia factoids. Among Professor Mitaka's droids are an armless WED Treadwell droid, as seen on Tatooine in New Hope, and a WDD Adminitech, first seen on Kessel in Solo: A Star Wars Story. Apart from TOB-1, none of the other droids have any arms, just like their creator Mitaka. Nice little thematic resonance there.
You love to see it.
When TOB-1 awakens at the start, next to his slab is a FX-7 medical droid, and along the wall are several drink dispensers shaped like IG-88's head, as first seen behind the bar in the Mos Eisley Cantina. And lastly, Professor Mitaka shares his last name with Lieutenant Dofeld Mitaka, the First Order officer who informs Kylo Ren that BB-8 has escaped from Jakku in Star Wars Episode 7: Force Awakens. So, I'm guessing purely coincidental, but maybe somebody just really liked that character with one line in Force Awakens. As I guess, so we've kind of already done like actually I guess we didn't. The last time around, I don't think we'd all watched all of them. So let's just kind of give our impressions as a whole on this thing, or a quick synopsis of our impressions as a whole, and then we'll kind of go through episode by episode and give our impressions there. Frank, do you want to start us off? Your overall thoughts on Star Wars Visions?
Yeah, I definitely loved the show. I was kind of surprised, honestly, because going in, I didn't really have it's not like I thought it was going to be bad, but I didn't really have expectations. I didn't know what to expect, and I didn't even really pay too much attention to it. I didn't know they were going to put out all the episodes at the same time. Even I just kind of jumped in and was like, "Hey, what am I getting in for?" And I was really surprised at how I thought all of the episodes at least were at least good. There's not any I sit here and go, "Oh, that was bad" or "that was terrible." But then there's just some where I go, "Wow, I was actually really blown away by what they did and what they were able to accomplish with the setup and the world they were given." And not to get onto a somewhat side tangent, but as I've said on multiple times on podcasts, comparing this with that same kind of time frame of Marvel's What If, I'm like, man, this blows What If out of the water in terms of just and it's a little bit apples and oranges, like I said too, but just when you watch them back to back like that, I'm just like, wow, this one had me engaged and excited the whole time, and I just couldn't wait to finish these episodes. And even we knew we were only going to record for the first 3, I watched the first 5 or 6 because I just couldn't put the show down. And I, even after finishing all the episodes, and even after weeks and weeks have gone by, I've still been talking about it and thinking about it and wanting to rewatch. And I just I really liked it.
Cool. Cameron.
For me, I am a massive fan of this entire project. I was somewhat skeptical at the beginning until, when the announcement came out, everybody I think was skeptical until they saw the names, the studio names being attached to it in the announcement. At which point it's okay, well, let's see what we get. And I have to say, after finishing all of them, top to bottom, I don't think there's a bad one in here. Even the weakest ones have a lot of fun or a lot of really wonderful talent included and behind it. It's just an absolute joy to see so many incredible teams from different studios and different directors, writers, all come together to celebrate Star Wars in an art form that I think has like been long awaited. It's like as massive as Star Wars is, the idea that we've never gotten outside of like a fan animation for like the X-wing TIE fighter stuff years ago. I don't think we've ever had an opportunity like this before. It's a massive success. People are clamoring for more, and honestly, I can't wait to get more of this sort of stuff. I love the diversity of what they've done. The one thing that I would love to see going forward is, of course, it's if you only have one swing at a Star Wars story, you're gonna want to tell a Jedi story, like a story about lightsabers. That's what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see a lot of these studios kind of come back and tell, or even other studios come in and tell other types of Star Wars stories. I've always been a champion for Solo, despite its flaws. It does tell a non-Jedi Force story in a Star Wars universe, which is just sorely lacking especially since the Disney acquisition. It's been sorely lacking, and so I would love to see them kind of like take that on in a lot of different ways, with kind of like the approach they've taken with these ones. I've watched all of them multiple times. Unfortunately, I haven't watched them in Japanese because I found out from somebody that the captions and like the actual the captions are for the English version, not the Japanese version.
Mm-hmm.
For the language. So, and because Japanese is a very distinct language, not everything's one-to-one, and so it doesn't necessarily always make sense. And so there's a lot of like nuance to what like the subtitles for the Japanese, like what they're getting in Japan is different from what we have here. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to kind of like exploring outside of the Disney Plus app to try to like find those. But in the meantime, I just have to say hands down, like even the worst casting in this series is still, top tier great talent. Like you can make some arguments about JGL's voice, particularly his singing voice in episode 2.
I knew I knew it was somehow going to circle around to that when you were like, even the worst casting is still
even the worst casting
JGL.
it's still JGL. Like, and then you have like veteran, the great thing about this is you have veteran voice actors who have been voicing anime productions for years, getting to voice Star Wars stuff. And then on top of that, you have some really great mainstream actors and actresses coming in and, knocking it out of the park. I'm really excited to talk about the ones we're talking about today for a variety of reasons. But yeah, I'm just really ready to get into it.
Cool. Christian, we kind of already got a little bit of your thoughts on it, but anything you wanted to add?
I guess I'll just like piggyback off some like y'all's points, like about the casting. This is great, and I understand the business reasons why we have like celebrities as the voice cast, but like, I mean, we've had a English dubbing scene for decades and generations here now. It would have been cool, I think, to be like, oh, like we have these voice actors, who English dubbed these iconic anime characters, not so much like, I mean, because David Harbour, it's David what Harbour or whatever.
Yeah, David Harbour.
He's Stranger Things, but and that's about it. Simu Liu, like that's great that if anything you're gonna get like Asian American celebrities, like that's like good for representation for elevating that presence out there. But like it's not even a nitpick. It's just like an observation. Like, hey, it's anime, so like we want to get the best voice actors, people who have more experience, because it's a different skill. Voice acting,
definitely.
Yeah.
I think that came up a lot when we talked about the twins. Especially just because of the kind of like anime voice acting that was. And I actually liked. I think I was maybe in the minority in that I liked Alison Brie in that one. And I know that Alison Brie has done anime stuff because I remember her being in Weathering with You when Cameron and I went and saw the dub of that. It was clearly a very different character, not the like I'm gonna be all anime at 200% over 9,000 kind of anime, but yeah, I can appreciate that. But then like on the flip side, like Neil Patrick Harris, who I don't know if he's done a ton, but like he seems to be widely like, oh, he did that really well.
Yeah, he's mostly done Western animation, not anime.
Yeah.
Dubbing. So.
But yes,
but I mean,
I very much hear your point of like,
mhm.
oh, it'd be cool if they'd gotten, people who had been doing English dubs of anime. If you'd gotten, your whoever does Deku or whoever does,
Well,
a handful of like
that's a good example.
The handful of other characters I could identify.
Yeah, the thing about it is that there are actually a lot of like classic anime voice actors in this series. They just aren't.
They're doing the additional voices roles and stuff.
Well, they do additional voices, but I mean, you have like, was the Ninth Jedi has as Homan is Patrick Seitz. He, like, if you want to talk about veteran voice actors, he's been doing stuff since like 2000. Like, he is like, as the scene got kind of like localized in LA, like you have there's a handful of voice actors who have been voice acting for like 20 plus years that are part of the different staffs. But I definitely see Christian's point about like, it would have been really cool to see kind of like the traditional, but I mean, at the same time, like, if you're Disney and you have the pull that Disney does, don't you want to kind of have some of these more cool breakout moments? I mean, because I never would have in a million years thought that, like, I never in a million years would have thought that Bobby Moynihan was going to be, like, Bobby Moynihan as Geezer in episode 2 is still one of like my standout moments of like, oh shoot, that was him. He did such an amazing job. Like, I did not see that coming. And there's so many of those in the series overall. Like there's just really great, like, it's great seeing traditional actors do really great voice acting. And I don't think you get that without like, without that kind of that influence that Disney had, where other studios definitely don't have like that budget for voice acting to make those kind of pulls.
Yeah, also very true. Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
I was just gonna say, and about the speculation for the future of Star Wars Visions. I think, when speaking to Cameron's, saying that it would be cool to have more or fewer Jedi stories. I agree with that. But we'll see. I'm curious what the future of this is going to be. I really thought, I don't know if it was naive of me or what, I really thought it was going to be one and done, but everyone else seems to be like, no, like, this obviously was a success, so let's print some more money. Let's make some more of this. So I'm going to have my fingers crossed, and I think, actually, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's already been confirmed that the Ninth Jedi is going to go on to be its own series.
There's been rumors about that,
yeah.
like, people trying to make that happen, but I don't know how much of it has been confirmed.
Yeah, I've not seen any confirmation of that. I've seen a lot of like speculation of like, if they were going to do like any of these as a spin-off into its own thing, it would be the Ninth Jedi most likely.
Jedi, yeah.
Like that's the one that's most clearly poised as like a backdoor pilot into a larger Star Wars story. But yeah, I don't think they've confirmed.
And of course,
anything.
Production IG would be the ones to do that. They're the ones ballsy enough to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of them kind of have that like, let's tell an origin story. Like it'll be we'll talk about it more next week, but like Lop and Ocho has the same kind of like, here's the beginning of a hero's journey kind of tale.
My heart.
So yeah, I mean, like, even Toby is like setting up to go off and like, save other planets now that he's a little, droid Jedi kind of guy or whatever. So yeah, I think a lot of these have that potential. But yeah, I think you can get that in any kind of like standalone story. It's like, okay, did we tell a really, really good standalone story that more people are going to want to see? Great. For me, I think I came in expecting the least out of anything, just because I'm not as versed in anime or anything like that. And was very much like impressed by everything. Even the one or two that I don't like as much. I agree with kind of everything else everybody said. Like, they're not bad by any means. They just don't necessarily resonate with me, and are the ones that I forget about more quickly compared to like the true standouts of this. It was very much a series of like, oh, those are a lot of really cool surprises that I was not expecting. especially given my like just lack of knowledge of really any of these studios coming into this. Like I'd heard a couple names and stuff like that, but didn't really know what to expect going into it. And so we talked about it a little bit last time, but like kicking off with the duel being such like a stark, not at all what I think about when I think of anime, in terms of its animation style, and then like going from that over to like you know basically an opening sequence for any of the My Hero Academia seasons that I've seen, or like the opening number or the closing number. Any of those is what you're getting with Tatooine Rhapsody, and then just kind of everything in between as we get through the rest of these. I think is certainly a standout. It whether or not like they do more in general is always fascinating to me, because it's in this era of streaming, and how effectively can they sell it? How much money are they making off of this? It's not like these things are individually driving up Disney Plus subscriptions usually. So it's a matter of like how much are they willing to invest to have this thing added to the overall portfolio, and what kind of value and return on investment do they see in that? Now, if they do kind of like continue on, and Ninth Jedi starts getting like merchandising at Galaxy's Edge and Disneyland and stuff like that, then yeah, they'll definitely make some money back on those kinds of things. But yeah, in terms of like streaming, it's the same kind of thing of like, that's why Netflix series don't typically last more than 3 seasons, because they're not making money on that show specifically. They're making money on their whole slate of subscribers. And it's just a matter of like what's actually getting people kind of in the door. So, but if they do continue, I agree. I very much would love to see them tell stories outside of the Jedi space, which is why, again, like we'll talk about it more next week, but like Lop and Ocho, for like so much of that isn't about Jedis, and I love that story, and the idea of like, the rebels. Even for this one, the first half of the Village Elder is so much more about like, oh, this is an interesting cultural story in a part of the universe we haven't explored before, or something like that. And then it aligns itself with Jedi philosophies and Jedi mentalities, and then of course the main character kind of being a Jedi and hiding at the end there. But yeah, it's very much like I love seeing just other flavors of this universe that we haven't gotten to experience in the handful of movies and few shows kind of outside that. So it's always cool when we get to see something new and something fresh in Star Wars.
The Village Bride.
Sorry, Village Bride. Yes. What did
I
I say?
was
Did I say the Village Idiot?
No, you said the Village Elder.
Oh,
the Elder
sorry,
is a later episode.
Combining two of them.
And so I was like, did I miss an episode? There's one called the Village Elder. So I went back. I was like, or when you're like, oh, it's a Jedi in hiding, I was like, I don't remember that from the end of the Elder. Like, what?
Nope. My apologies.
I'm back.
Just me fudging up my words.
And I was gonna say, and kind of to that point about hoping to see more. I in general have seen much more praise than anything for this show overall, and so I hope the Western writers in the Star Wars family can kind of see that, and I hope, if anything, Visions encourages Lucasfilm to be like, hey, let's take more risks. Let's look at what they've done and see what else we can do with Star Wars and shake it up a bit.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
speaking of merchandising
absolutely.
off of a property, Visions already has a particular piece of merchandise. It's a book, Star Wars Ronin.
There you go.
I picked it up. I haven't read it yet, but it is. I read the first little bit, and it is poised to be a kick-ass book. Very excited, but so like
So they get a
they're
little
already
bit of money
like
from that.
yeah, like they're already like working on it. So it's like the universe was so cool that they're like, let's write a book about it. And so like, and the thing about if they did do a show off the Ninth Jedi, I think it would be absolutely amazing. Production IG, like, it's cool because there was a little bit of Tenchi Muyo-ness to the Ninth Jedi that I really liked when it came to kind of like the character designs, and a little bit like it felt a little bit more old school anime, like older, like 80s 90s kind of vibe to some of the anime stuff. But like the design of the droid servant that actually held the marquee, and then like the actual like reveal of the Marquis actually being there the entire time and everything like that was very much like totally production IG, like the director's style of storytelling really well. So like, and I would love to see them explore that. But let's also like be real. We are all waiting for a bounty hunter episode of Visions where Steve Blum is the voice.
Okay.
I will connect the dots for you. You see, Steve Blum, Trevor, plays a bounty hunter in Cowboy Bebop, which is an anime.
Okay.
It's the definitive, like it is one of the most definitive anime.
And there are bounty hunters in Star Wars, Trevor.
Yes,
so,
yes, I picked up on that. Who does he play in Cowboy Bebop?
Spike Spiegel.
Spike
He plays the main guy. Yeah,
Okay.
he like it's like
The John Cho
Blum
character. Got it.
The John Cho
Yes.
character, exactly. He is like the man of 1,000 voices, and I could not believe that he was not in this. Even as like background stuff, I was trying to look to see if he was involved with it at all, and he wasn't. And I'm like, you want to talk about voice actors? Get him, Mary Elizabeth, what's her name in there?
Winstead?
Like all those really incredible like legendary voice actors could definitely have been in this, but they weren't. So.
Yeah, I mean, well, we will get some bounty hunter stuff with the Book of Boba Fett coming up in a couple months.
I don't think Stephen Blum's in that. So.
I mean, I imagine not. It's a live action thing and whatnot. But I anticipate that probably being very light on Jedi at least. So you have that as a possibility moving forward. Yeah, let's talk about episode by episode. So circling back to The Village Bride, not Elder. What did people think of The Village Bride? I mean, I'll kick off. This is so I watched this in like my initial flurry. Like I watched the first 3 that we did for the last episode, and then I watched this one as well in that batch. And until going back to it today, I'd kind of forgotten this one. This and I think the last episode of the series are probably the 2 that I put in that like they're good, but they just didn't have anything that like stands out to me and like resonated. But I do love the like almost Final Fantasy nature of the like let's we're like the people go into the earth and we're at harmony with the world and all that kind of stuff that you get with this one that does very much align with a Jedi mentalities and Jedi philosophies, especially in a world that has just been like wiped nearly clean of Jedi. I appreciate that element of the story, but like before we even get into that, it's just kind of like this is a cool cultural exploration of similar to again the Duel, but like how is this community surviving the power vacuum of, in this case, the Separatists leaving and people reprogramming battle droids and stuff like that. And it's a familiar kind of story of like a maiden is being sacrificed for the greater good of the village or something like that. And so it kind of leans in a little bit on those tropes. But specifically this time around watching it, I had a greater appreciation for the visuals because there's like a good almost a minute in there as they're kind of like going up to the top of the mountain where it's just no dialogue or anything. And it just breathes and you just get to see this beautiful planet that they've kind of designed and crafted and the characters interacting with it and stuff. So I thought that was like a really cool element that I probably missed the first time around just because I maybe was distracted by my phone or something like that. And that's just another thing of like, despite how brief these are, they all, save maybe the twins, give themselves like moments to just like bask in the fact that they're making a Star Wars thing. And it's not just let's like fill every like minute of this thing with like wall-to-wall action. So yeah, I really like that. And then I do like the action at the end. It's a fun sequence. And I'm a fan of like any variations of the lightsaber like this one that is like just so much like it's a samurai blade. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's a yellow samurai blade,
Mhm.
and she has rocket boots, and that's just like cool, great, love that. So
Mhm.
yeah, I appreciated this one more on a rewatch, but it was definitely one of the ones that, like, in my initial pass, I was like, this didn't really do a ton for me compared to some of the other ones. But that's not that's more a testament to the interesting ideas that are being raised in the other ones than this one. Christian, what do you think of The Village Bride?
It was cool. Like I what really sticks out to me whenever I think about this one is how much I like that you take the Force and like take the time to see how other people perceive it in different ways. Obviously, they both the village and the Jedi that we find out, she's a Jedi. They both respect the Force. It's not like one takes advantage of it more than the other, but they both do come and look at it in a different way and identify with it in a different way. And I just that's what I enjoyed the most was the taking the time to see how other cultures, find ways to come to peace with life, life force and nature and yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one. And I in addition, when you said like I do like how this one takes time to just like look at the world, look at the horizon. There's more to Star Wars than just the fights,
Mhm.
which of course we enjoy.
Yeah.
Rocket boots, come on, katana lightsaber. But there's also a lot of beauty in the galaxy far far away as well.
Yeah.
And so yeah.
Cool. Frank, how about you?
Yeah, I'm definitely think I'm pretty much on the same page as you guys, and especially I think you, Trevor. I think for me, like if I was ranking them, this would be sort of in the middle for me. But I think you said the exact same thing I was going to say though, where you were like, I kind of forgot this one was there. Like it doesn't mean it's bad. It's just it is kind of a forgettable kind of in some of the larger scheme of all these other episodes. But just kind of referring to the episode itself, like I did think it was a really beautiful episode. I liked the art style. I like the island vibes you kind of get there that you don't normally get. And then I do like the action at the end because it is kind of a slower pace and episode, and kind of like you said, it lets everything kind of breathe, and then you kind of just get the action that it kind of builds up to at the end. But that's what I really liked. I really liked all of that, and I definitely liked the I know you kind of hinted at it there before too, but I do really like the idea of it's like the stuff the separatists have left behind, and they're like reprogramming droids, and like they're just kind of taking all their equipment, and it is kind of like the same thing we saw in the duel where they're taking like all the Empire kind of equipment that's been like left over. But like I do love that idea, is that's like something we've only seen little bits of here and there as we've kind of seen Star Wars stuff, but that's like a super realistic take, is like as they've been colonizing all of these other places and then they just leave, especially with the Empire and the Separatists, of like once you lose and you're done, you're not going to go get all your droids and ships and whatever else and armor and guns and whatever. So I like the idea that it's like seeing like, well, what are other people doing when then now they have this power, and it's not great. And so that's when I kind of like the idea of that, and I hope we even get more of that in some future like Star Wars Visions episodes too, and hopefully it doesn't become like too played out.
Yeah. How about you, Cam?
I mean, it's just a standout, wonderful performance by a lot of the actors and the animators. It's just such a really stunning. There's so many stunning shots. Whether it's uh, like whether it's the wedding ceremony where it's just the married couple together, and it's just like beautiful, or it's the kind of like really frantic and fun animation of the actual like dinner ceremony. And it was it's really, really very cool to see somebody who has just suffered an enormous loss in regards to like the Order 66 being so recent. She's this young Padawan. She has her, Padawan, braid that she cuts off in such a dramatic and beautiful moment, to symbolize kind of her coming into her own as a Jedi. And also kind of like this acknowledgement that like there are no like, and it's this really wonderful moment where she steps up to the plate to defend these people because there is nobody else.
Mm-hmm.
She won't have a master telling her what to like. She's so aimless for such a big part of it, and originally I didn't really like it, but upon like rewatching it, when you look at it as somebody who is kind of like on their own for the first time, Like it's very interesting because it's like it plays with this idea of like, well, what are you? Like, are you a Padawan on the run? Are you going to like to let these terrible things happen to these people? Like what are you going to do? And then for her to, step out, cut off the braid, be ready, and then originally I think a lot of people thought like, is the other guy her master? Like, what's the deal with that guy? Only for him to just kind of turn out to be like a kind of like a kick-ass retired soldier. Like totally fits, and it's really cool. The fight at the end is like the entire setup is like super old school storytelling, especially like super common in like any kind of like samurai anime or story like anywhere. Village being oppressed by bandits that are demanding the most beautiful girl in the village to like be like come with them. Like it's a whole like trope, but it's done so well here and it's done so beautifully. Like I really loved it. It's up there with being one of my more favorite episodes. But it really is just like it is something different in a very familiar way. This is a very traditional Jedi Star Wars story done in a very anime way that is not really a departure from anything that we're too familiar with, but at the same time, and with that, it does feel very much at home with the story that it's telling and the kind of idea that even. And I also love that little note that she gets to experience at the beginning of the episode, which is even if the Jedi are gone, the Force is still there. And whether it's the Force as she knows it, or it's the Force as these people know it and worship it, it will continue on. Is kind of like a really nice lesson for her to learn at the beginning, and then for her to take her place kind of as a protector and defender, not of these people, but really of the galaxy. Like the Jedi might be gone, but she's still there. Granted, she is always on the run because she's a Jedi. It's great. It's such a good episode.
Cool. Moving on to probably the big heavy hitter of this episode, the Ninth Jedi. We can let's round robin it and throw it right back to you, Cam. What are your thoughts here on the Ninth Jedi?
I fucking love this episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good on so many levels. There's so much like amazing animation stuff, anime like notes of animation here. But one of the things I love is how they really mess with proportions in this episode. Like they really go out of their way to regardless of like, oh, the station they're on turns upside down and it's a lightsaber. Like outside of that, the claws launching out from the planet into space to grab asteroids and stuff and pull them down. The way that it plays with all of that at the beginning of the episode is phenomenal. Just direction and animation wise is just really cool because it right from the get-go discombobulates you, and it's just very cool. And then you get like this really different kind of introduction to lightsabers in a really, really fascinating, cool way. Whether it's the concept of because you have the Force, because the Force is strong in our family, your lightsaber will it's clear right now. It's not colored right now, but as you grow in the Force, it will start to fill in, and it will reflect your who you are in your heart. Like you can't lie. The idea you can't lie to a kyber crystal. It knows your heart, right? It's such a cool concept that has never really been used. It's never been used before in Star Wars, but it feels like it probably should be.
I love the idea, and I love the payoff to it in that we get in this episode of all these people we think are like Jedi being trapped, and just nope, it's just a shit ton of red lightsabers.
Yeah, when that happens, that's a jaw-dropping moment because you're like, oh cool, you're about to see maybe different colored lightsabers and whatnot, and it's like nope, all red. And it's like, oh no. And it's like that's such an amazing moment. I was gonna get to that. That's actually my favorite moment of the episode. It's just those lightsabers popping off and they're all red, and all of a sudden it's that oh shit moment that you don't really ever get in a lot of Star Wars stuff. That is just such a great turn. Whether I mentioned earlier, whether it's the Margrave hiding in the oversized droid the entire time, to kind of like I love this idea that it's like, where does this take place? Somewhere
Mhm.
really into the future of the galaxy, like long after the Jedi are gone.
Mhm.
Like this totally fits within the post Rise of Skywalker era, where there is not going to be like an established, like there really isn't an order at this point. And it's like, well, back when there was, and it's like these legends of back when there was a Jedi order, and people weren't just, you know, these legacy Jedi of it being handed down, passed down from generation to generation. Um, and the like is so cool, but I like whether it's the like really awesome animation stuff where the main forgot her name, the girl like is on her speeder bike, leaps off her speeder bike, and like hits ice, and so she has to like balance herself out on the ice before coming around and swinging and cutting off that, like cutting up that guy's speeder, then hopping back on her speeder to go like take off. That entire animation sequence is fucking amazing. It's so good. And like there's just so many really amazing key moments, but whether it's like the father like churning up this like the furnace to get it to blow up. I thought he was going to die, but the fact that like, it's like no, he's alive. He was he was captured. And now this girl's on this journey to try to save her father. And like they're all like she's part of this overall journey to rebuild the Jedi Order. And it's really all so fucking cool. And it's awesome that the Sith that you see and meet, they also don't have lightsabers, because it's like lightsabers just aren't really a thing right now.
Mhm.
And so it's this amazing moment. You get like what'd you say the kid's name was? Ethan.
Ethan, yeah.
Yeah, Ethan. Weird name for a Star Wars character. Just
Oh,
like
I mean, we get to talk about Dan next week, so
yeah, Dan next week. Oh man, no, like crazy weird like regular names. But then again, Luke.
I mean, yeah, exactly. Like it's
Like
it
Luke.
it started kind of normal back with Luke, and then we just went balls to the wall crazy, like with
Well, yeah,
Qui-Gon, and
Yeah, like
obviously we also had Obi-Wan at the time and stuff like that. But yeah,
but yeah, but they called him Ben. Like that's the they
Yeah.
gave him like a regular name for a
Yeah.
nickname. Han is not like not too different of a name, right? And then you have you know, Leia is a totally normal name. Like you have normal names
Yeah.
in Star Wars in the like in the original film. It's not until like Empire where you get like these wild names, Lando Calrissian and you know Boba Fett and other characters like that. Yeah, that you get like it gets real fantastical, and then Qui-Gon Jinn shows up, and you're like, "I'm sorry, excuse me, sir, what?"
Kia D Mundi, and yeah,
Kia D Mundi and Kit Fisto.
yeah, they just went completely nuts.
Yeah, they're like, "What should we use as the basis of names in Star Wars? Luke, Leia, Han, or Yoda?" And they went with Yoda. They went wild with it. It's great. No, I love it. I love what we're seeing here. Ethan, when he pulls out the blade, and it's like, oh, like, are we really gonna see lightsabers? And the Marquis like lets him like gives him like that kick-ass nice one that he got from that he got earlier. That's like definitely the Marquis lightsaber. But hot damn, it's such a good episode, man. It's such a good episode. It's my favorite of the three for sure. Has my favorite moments for sure, but it's just like it's just so good. Yeah.
Frank, let's hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that again. Like this is, I said it last time, I think on our last podcast, because this was the episode I said was like a banger that I think I had seen before you guys did. But like this is like in contention for like one of my favorite episodes of the whole series. Like it's like for me, it's right up there with like it's this and the Duel. And like I was just blown away by both. I think Cam kind of hit most of the points of what I thought was great about it, but I did definitely loved like the animation's great, the cinematography in this is really good. I even just think the writing and the acting in it is really good too. One of the things that Cam kind of touched on that really did blow me away about it is I love the way they played with perspective, like especially like when you're like in a ship flying and then it pans out and you're like flying upside down into a like base that's under the upside down of like an asteroid. And I was like, that makes so much sense though, because like that's what this would be like. Like this is what space and this is what having like a base and stuff like that would be like. It would be all when you're jumping around, you're not in a vertical like straight line. You're going all over the place. And even though it seems normal to you, you're just like, yeah, we're flying into a base, but you're flipped upside down in a really super crazy way. And like that's something you don't get a lot in Star Wars. Like it's all this like super staged out like battles and stuff like that. And that's why I was like seeing that is just even a small thing they don't really call attention to really blew me away. And I was like, I would love to see again like more of that in other Star Wars properties. But this is just like this is the one where I know kind of we were saying is like it's almost kind of like a backdoor pilot, but I'm like, man, give me the whole series, just inject it in my veins. Like I was like, I even had kind of mentioned like I wish they had almost went with like an idea like this for like what the sequel trilogy became, and obviously this kind of like we were saying kind of takes place like nebulously afterwards. But I was like, if they just did like these huge high dollar budget movies about like them trying to restart the order way after it went away, and you had like this whole kind of vibe, I would be so into that. And that's why I'm even like, yeah, just like make it a show, make it whatever. Like, I just give me more of that for sure. And especially because like when it ends and it's like, we got to go get your dad. And I'm like, hell yeah. Like, I'm like, just give me more of this. Like, I just want all these adventures. And my last kind of point that, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it's very much set up like,
yeah,
because not only is her dad still out there, but all of the other Jedi are also still out there. Like the Margraves, like they're not dead. I still feel them. I still feel their presence. They've just been like captured or kidnapped or whatever. And so yeah, it's very much like setting up like okay, well, there's a monster of the week kind of story. We got to go save each of those Jedi until we save the dad and take down the big bad who kind of like masterminded this whole thing. Like they very much were like, we've given all the breadcrumbs for this to like for us to flesh this out into a more proper series.
Yeah, and I love that because, like, can you imagine if they did a whole series that was like one season and each episode is it's like Mass Effect 2 where you get the dossier and you have to go recruit your Jedi and then you get to like be on missions with them and learn how badass they are and you build this relationship with this crew of like 10 ragtag crazy badass Jedis who have to go get this master dude like on a suicide mission into some like Empire base. Like, I think that's incredible. And that's the kind of thing that I'm 100% here for, especially because it's like so different and like interesting. So that's why I definitely loved. And the thing that Cam had kind of mentioned too is I love the shot when they're all just kind of when it is the red lightsabers that pop, but it's like there's they let it breathe for a second before they pop, where it's kind of shot where I was like, man, they're all like circled around them in a weird way, and I was like, that's not good. And then it's like red lightsaber. I was like, oh shit. Like that's where I go back to like the cinematography in this episode is like really, 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 really good, and I really loved everything about that episode for sure.
Yeah, the one caveat I will throw in there of like that pitch of like we got to go save all these Jedi is that all those Jedi have already lost at least once. So like you're gonna have to come up with like new ways as to like why they didn't make it to this summit, like why they were kidnapped, why they were tricked. You know, is it that they were just all naive, or did they get captured in different ways or something like that, to keep that like fresh, engaging, so that they can be a badass team of Jedis and not just like 7 damsels in distress or whatever, 6 damsels in distress. Christian, what are your thoughts?
Probably my favorite element of this story is the immediate tension. As soon as Ethan gets there, it's like, it's the first thing I thought of anyways. Is like, can I really trust anyone here? Mm-hmm. Can I really trust the message? I mean, it's obviously purposely, he's designed to have you on edge of like, hey, this total Darth Vader vibes and stuff. And that was like one of my favorite elements throughout the whole thing, is just like wondering who among them, especially when they even start openly talking about like, yeah, like I definitely, one of them says like, I feel darkness around here too. And start planting the seeds of doubt of like, hey, who here is Sith and who here is not? And I actually was thinking, just as I was watching, I thought maybe the twist was going to be that Ethan was going to be the dark one. Just because kind of in anticipation, like, hey, the Margrave, he looks so dark. It would be cool if he was the hero. And so the opposite end would be that like Ethan looks so like young and naive and pure and stuff. So that would be really something if he turned out to be, the Sith or something like that. But no, like a lot of what y'all said, like, yeah, I love the animation, the writing, and I just love how everyone's always doing something. Just everyone was always doing something, even down to the droids when she shows up to go up to the station. They're drinking their tea, which I'm sure is oil or whatever. But like everyone always seems to be doing something, which just makes the world and the scene just feel more alive.
I did want to definitely mention that droid and how sassy and just like lethargic he was. I also like, I love the idea of a lightsaber smith. like
Mm-hmm.
especially give like I love that this just introduces like new flavors of what lightsabers can kind of be, since we're so used to the like, well, a Jedi makes their own lightsaber
Mm-hmm.
and the color is, is based on the kyber crystal color or whatever like that. And I love that this kind of like adds new elements to that idea, like, hey, people have forgotten the art of making a lightsaber, but this one guy has figured it out or has like
Mm-hmm.
uncovered it or whatever, like whatever. And so he's trying to basically like single-handedly restock the galaxy's lightsabers with funding from the Margrave. And then yeah, I love that, just that idea that doesn't really have any basis in what we've seen before. But I mean, I guess it does, because like, it is that whole like, well, why are the bad guys just always have red lightsabers? Like, it's not, they didn't just all stumble into red kyber crystals, did they? And so I love that it is like this idea of like, it's attuned to your spirit and your personal kind of alignment. And on that, I love the idea that's kind of introduced in the end battle there, of the guy who
Mm-hmm.
is like so, like, I don't know if he's just driven by emotion or something like that, and that's just kind of like an aspect of his people or him or whatever, but like that he starts out like with all these red lightsabers around him, his lightsaber's red, and then like he kind of comes to his senses and realizes, like, remembers the good in him when the girl's lightsaber goes green and his goes purple, and he is kind of like in that
Mhm.
struggle. And then we kind of get that conversation between him and the Margrave of like, I know you're an ally to me, what like
Mm-hmm.
get a hold of yourself, like rein it in, kind of thing. I love that as a concept of somebody who just can be so fluid in in those regards. Yeah, I just
Mm-hmm.
thought that was a really cool idea. A lot of other stuff I like about this episode we've already touched on. Like, I love the speeder bike kind of escape sequence. I love
So good.
the clarity of the lightsaber, like the clear lightsaber kind of aesthetic or visual, before it
Mm-hmm.
it chooses its color, is a great touch. And then yeah, the Margrave just like wrecking shop at the end and taking out guys left and right, throwing one guy down into the light that
Oh.
somehow like lights the guy on fire or whatever. It's like yeah, like, yeah, that guy is not coming back from that. So yeah, lots of stuff to like in that one. And I think we're all on the same page of like, if they want to make that, want to make more of that, continue telling that story, please do. Gladly will show up for that.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll bring us to Toby, TOB1. Um, let's switch this up. Frank, what were your thoughts on Toby?
Yeah, so out of these three, and actually, I guess if I was ranking them like the whole series, this is one for me that's in the more towards the bottom. And this isn't another. This is like I said before. Like, I don't think there's any episodes that are bad. This is just one that for me didn't really do too much. Like, it is obviously kind of like a cute, fun episode. It has a lot of really interesting ideas that are definitely interesting. But this is one that I got a little bit bored during, and like might have even been on like got on my phone a little bit during probably too. And I like some of what it does, but it just like there some of these, especially like some of the other episodes are so strong, and coming off of the Ninth Jedi and going directly into this, I was like, okay, yeah, like the Ninth Jedi is just like so much stronger, and especially blew me away so much more, that that one I definitely like left me wanting a little bit. And I kind of was worried about that going in when I saw like the thumbnail and the image and the photo and everything, just because I was like, I don't know if this one's going to be for me, because like it's like an Astro Boy kind of animation. It's
Yeah.
like totally that kind of like vibe, like. And I was like, all right, like like I definitely think it still has like some things going for it, and it's still kind of a fun, interesting thing. I do like the idea of like a droid being a Jedi, or having sort of that capability, or even just having that like that want and that need, and then being, it's kind of like what Christian said earlier too. It's almost like that everybody can wear the mask kind of thing. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
I like the fact that it's like, yeah, you don't have to be from a specific lineage or have so many metachlorians that you can like be strong. It's just that like, even if you're a droid, you can still, kind of like have that kind of impact. So like I definitely do like some of those elements to that story.
Cool. Christian.
I really enjoyed this one. It's one of my favorites to rewatch, and I think when you're going through the series, it was really refreshing to have something a lot lighter. Um, a lot, I, a lot of people, what I'm making generalizations, which I probably shouldn't, but it's my I get the vibe that a lot of Western audiences really gravitate towards darker anime, action packed stuff, shonen type stuff, and and I actually really enjoy a lot of slice of life anime. I really like the cutesy kind of stuff. I even watch like kind of kids anime sometimes too. So something like this is like totally up my alley too. I didn't feel like, oh, here's a kiddie story thing. I'm like, oh, cool. Like this is like, yeah, like you mentioned, Astro Boy, and maybe people point out rightfully, yeah, that's definitely Pinocchio inspired, Astro Boy, Mega Man. Like it's kind of a familiar story of like the boy wanting to live up to something else. But just from the aesthetic, the look, like the overall tone, like I just really liked having this such a different direction compared to the other ones. It's one of my favorites, and it reminded me of like some people. I don't know how some people feel about the whole droid having access to the Force. I don't know if some people are against it or like, no, it doesn't make sense, or if some people are like, oh no, like yeah, it's like the Force is everywhere, so why wouldn't it be? But it kind of reminded me of I haven't read this story in Star Wars myself, but I heard like secondhand that there are in the legends and comics that like apparently in one of the offshoot comics, like when Luke buys that first droid before R2 and then it blows up.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently in one of the comics it's explained that it's a force sensitive droid that knew, oh no, R2 needs to go with him, so he like self-sacrifices. And I always liked that idea when I heard that. Again, I cannot confirm if this is an actual comic or story or anything, but I heard that that's a storyline somewhere. And ever since I heard that, I always really liked the idea of a droid being force sensitive. So getting to see this actually happen, like I was like, oh great, somebody did it. Someone else did it.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was like, I do not like, I don't know, like that sounds like a fan theory on Reddit, but as far as like that being like an introduction to you, like thinking that droids having the Force is cool, I'm down with that. I think droids having the Force is pretty rad. Even though like canonically speaking, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, isn't there like a scene? Maybe it's a deleted scene from A New Hope. But I thought there was a scene where basically like R2-D2 sabotages him to
oh really
so that he will kind of like be the only droid available, really. R5D4 I believe is that one.
Mm-hmm.
Who does end up later on he's working in the cantina in the era of the Mandalorian. And well, he's in the cantina in the first season, and I believe he's in the Amy Sedaris's character, like she just kind of owns him in season 2 of
I didn't
like
notice.
he's still like it's the same kind of looking droid, and he's got like the burn marks, the scorch marks where he kind of explodes.
An Easter egg, I guess.
Yeah, it's very much an Easter eggy kind of thing. But yeah, I also appreciate the idea of like the Pinocchio aspect of the story of like, this droid wants to be a real boy, and above and beyond that, he wants to be a Jedi, and I love the almost pseudo implication that maybe that's fueled by the fact that he's powered by a kyber crystal, or that he, if not like fully powered, that he has that kyber crystal in him, and that's where he ends up finding it. I think is a cool and clever idea for this one. And then just like, I mean, from the visuals immediately when watching this one, I was like, they just like Capcom, I feel like, has a lawsuit against this guy because they just completely like made Dr. Light. Like that's exactly what that guy is, just with no arms. And even that, like, I don't know if I just if I was focusing on other things, but like it didn't dawn on me until like way late in the episode that he didn't have arms. I guess until like he's like putting and hiding Toby in that, like in the cave there, like, do I realize that he's just doing this all with force powers and stuff. Cool. Very, very neat. Like, it just didn't dawn on me of like, because I mean, like, he's just kind of standing there and like working on his stuff.
Yeah.
And he's always got his like his jacket kind of like in this kind of pose, so you just don't know that
Mm.
there aren't arms in there. And so like I appreciated that almost like pseudo reveal to me later on, when it is kind of when he was a Jedi and kind of that stuff. I will say I love the action of this one.
Mm.
I'm this one. I love just kind of talking through this stuff because it sounds like we kind of like all gravitated towards different things. Like this being one of your favorites, Christian. This being one of your least favorite ones, Frank. I kind of fall in the middle on this one. Like I like this one. I have fun with this one. I fully like recognize that this one has like a lot of cheese to it, and it as I was watching it through it this time, so many of Toby's moments remind me. It's a stretch, but they remind me of Mineta from My Hero, just in that they're all designed to be like gags and punchline bits and stuff like that. And even when he's down, he does the thumbs up to the OK sign to the other droids, and the other droids dance and get excited or something like that. Like it has that kind of vibe, just without the disgusting horn dogness of Mineta.
Fair.
It's the pure version of Mineta.
The wackiness.
Yeah, and so I love that flavor to this, and I love just that, like how they kind of play with that and have fun with it. Of like he's on this, like he's trying to find the kyber crystal, and he's like looking all over the planet, and he just doesn't find it anywhere. And then when he does go into like the forbidden place, like he inadvertently brings down the downfall of his master / father figure, whatever. And that's like, there would very easily be a different version of this that would just lean into that heaviness and that tragedy that you were kind of touching on, Christian. And this certainly doesn't like shy away from that. It definitely has him kind of grappling with those, like that revelation, those consequences. But it doesn't like spend so much time in it that it becomes heavy and it takes over the thing. It addresses it, and then he fights and defeats the bad guy, and is going, and even before that, he deals with it, and he realizes it was his fault, and he's going to live on in honor of the guy, and he brings water to the planet, he brings life to the planet, and that's what like brings the dark side kind of back into their sphere and leads to the fight. And I love that aspect of, he's already made the decision to kind of like be the Jedi, like taking on the mantle of his master even before he realizes that he was his master, in a really cool and interesting way. So I enjoy this one. It doesn't hit the highs of some of the other highs, but it's a fun diversion, and a like, I feel like this and Tatooine Rhapsody are the only times we get like this really just lighthearted, fun type of adventure in here. And so I think there's like a joy to it that I appreciate. Cameron, hit me with your thoughts on this one.
Man, I love this one. It's not one of my favorites, but I do have so many things I love about it. But my favorite thing about this episode is it delves into a side of the Jedi we're always told about, but we're rarely ever shown. They weren't just space cops. They were scientists. They were historians. They were like the idea of the Jedi as a monastic order is rarely explored, especially in such like really awesome detail. Like the idea that it's like, yeah, he's a Jedi, and that's like his like, oh yeah, my like his dad's his creator's a Jedi, but the idea that it's like, oh, he's a he's a Jedi specializing on bringing life to things that normally don't have life, and that includes Toby. Toby is a droid. Toby can uniquely use the Force for some reason. Is it because of the Kyber crystal? It's like, whatever the reason or cause, this is a Jedi master who is very clearly, like, without having arms, has a phenomenal mastery of the Force to the point where he's trying to create life where there can't be life. An example, I love that it's like, Toby, like, I need you to help me with my equations. And so Toby's like writing equations, and then he gets his daydream gets taken off, and he starts drawing out his daydream. And it's like, but droids, that's an interesting point, is that droids don't dream either, like in the Star Wars universe. Like they're VI, they're virtual intelligence. They don't even have artificial intelligence to really learn and grow. Like droids' personality, like a lot of the thing about droids is like not thrown out the window here, but really given a deeper context of, it's like Toby is special not just because he has a kyber crystal in him, but because he is this new sort of life. Like it's this awesome concept that's deeply explored, where it's like he has to search for the kyber crystal. Where was the kyber crystal? Inside of him all along. Both the power to be a Jedi, the power of the Force, this thing that you've always dreamed of, it's not out there in the world. It's not like out there for you to adventure to discover. It's always been inside of you the entire time. Is like a wonderful, like, not turn of, like, not an inversion, but so much as just like kind of like the trope kind of tipped on its side a little bit. The trope is askewed a little bit, and I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I love what they do here with it. I love the fight at the end because it's so, like, it's Devilman Crybaby, man. in a Star Wars anime, the animation style is just so, like, the blurring of lines, it's visceral, it's powerful, and it is, but at the end it's like, oh, is Toby going to go off to become a warrior champion of the galaxy? No, he's going to continue to do what his master did, which is to continue to bring life to otherwise places that don't have life, and revitalizing planets. And it's this awesome, wonderful, it's like, yes, that is exactly what I want to see. Like, that was always kind of like my hesitancy with this episode going into it, and like watching it was like, so he's just going to become like this warrior Jedi, and like, but I'm like, but the interesting stuff is what the science that's going on, like bringing like life and water to a desert planet that's dead. Like, that's way more interesting than like Jedi and Sith. And like, I've already seen 7 episodes of or like 5 episodes of this. I don't need more. Like, this is fascinating. The scientist's work is amazing. And for it to be like, no, this is a Jedi's work. And I don't mean that in the sense of, yes, as we can expect, the Jedi are these ever wise, knowing people. It's like, no, this is a guy who, and it really is, once again, tapping into something we're told about the Jedi over and over again, but never shown. And here we're shown it in such an amazing way. That, like, I really appreciate so much of like the, like I said earlier about like kind of like the nods to other things in this anime, or in this episode too. Or I didn't mention it. The nods to Astro Boy, to Devilman Crybaby, to old like 60s, 70s animes, that like, this is a massive love letter to that anime, not animation style so much as like a really great throwback in a lot of ways to the kind of like design choices. Whether it's the way that like even the way outlines are done over characters and like backgrounds in this is a massive throwback to Astro Boy and Daizunger and like a lot of the old animes that like were great. And it's just so cool to see. And of course, like Astro Boy, like Robot Boy, who's a superhero, Toby, Robot Boy, who wants to be a Jedi. Like it's perfect. It's done so incredibly well. Even though it's not one of my personal favorites, I do think it is just an absolute top-notch episode. And just like, I totally understand why Christian loves it. Like, it's great, but at the same time, I understand, like, it's one of Frank's least favorite episodes. Like, I totally see both sides of that, and both are like, I don't think either side of it, how you look at it, is wrong. But if you are for me, I'm a lover of old anime. One of my favorite animes of all time is Joe of Tomorrow, Ashita no Joe, which is like in that old animation style. Getting to see animes from that era be honored and represented in something like Star Wars Visions is wild and awesome and cool, and I'm such a big fan of it. So
you touched on this, so I wanted to circle back around to I love the animation style of this one. In particular, like, I love that kind of we have our the main animation style, but then when we do go into Toby's dreams, and it just completely changes up and has that more like almost chalk-like feel to it, and that aesthetic, and then even again switching it up in the final fight, when we get kind of different flavors of the animation style there. That's another element that definitely stands out to me in this episode in particular, in the same way that like the duel jumps out at me as like that one's doing a different anime style than I'm used to the entire time. The fact that this one, I think of all the episodes, is the only one that really plays with the art style and like switches up the art style throughout the episode in a cool and engaging way. So that's another thing that, well, it has almost no real bearing on the plot itself or whatever. It's just like, oh, like it's immediately a visual shorthand of like, now we're in Toby's head because this is what things look like now versus what we normally see of like the big bubbly kind of stuff the rest of the time. I really appreciated that as another element of this particular episode. Really standout stuff. Any final words from anybody else before we wrap up?
Just that, like, the fact that it because of the character design and everything about the look of this one, it's cool to see. Hey, I mean, I'm in my early 30s, so I do like the gritty, action-packed stuff, but like also kind of remembering what George always says, like, hey, important to him, you know, like Star Wars, you know, it was important for him to entertain kids, and this definitely is like, hey, remember, kids like this stuff too, you know. And so this is like a good, like, it's cool that a studio out there took the time to be like, hey, yeah, that's right, like, let's make something a bit more lighthearted and, you know, but still engaging and entertaining.
Yeah. Frank?
I didn't have any more thoughts on the series or the season 1 of the series, but I just kind of had a general question I wanted to throw out there. That's probably for Christian and Cam, but for if they did a season 2, is there a studio you guys would want to see them tap to bring in that wasn't a part of season 1 to do some kind of an anthology story?
Not off the top of my head, because I mean, Trigger is one of my number one studios, and they've already had 2 on this. And Production IG covers pretty much the bases. I think some notable ones that I'd like to see that I think about now would be Bones. They did. I don't know what they've done recently, but I believe, and I could be wrong because I don't usually follow the studios. I'm more interested in like directors and stuff like that. Well, actually, now that I use the word directors, I mean, hey, how crazy would a Ghibli like actually get?
I was about to say
Miyazaki,
Ghibli,
right?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
But Bones and Madhouse are 2 pretty big names as far as like anime productions out there. Bones, I think they did the first 2003 Full Metal Alchemist series.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember off the top of my head who Madhouse has done, but I know that's a big name out there. That if it's good enough for me to remember off the top of my head, then yeah, let's get them in on the roster as well. Yeah.
Do you have any, Kim?
Yeah, I can think of a couple. I don't think you want to bring Gainax into it because Gainax is kind of already pretty much anybody you want from Gainax to be directing and doing stuff is already doing it over at Studio Trigger.
That was going to be my choice. I was going to say Gainax.
Yeah, but I mean, anybody you want from Gainax is already over. So
would I know anything from Gainax?
You ever heard of Fooly Cooly?
Yeah, well, no, that's Production IG.
Oh, okay. Then I had that wrong.
Yeah, Production IG is Fooly Cooly. Fooly Cooly, like, yeah, that's why I was like, I love Production IG. They do all the like tons of classic animes come from Production IG. Fooly Cooly, including the 2 sequel series that they did. Off the top of my head, I can think of a couple. Madhouse for sure would be great. They're just really, really good. They've done a lot of different, they've done a lot of things, but like the thing that always jumps out to me, like off the top of my head, is the Devil May Cry anime. Just because it's such a great adaptation to kind of like what you want to see from an adaptation, like adapting material. Toei would be interesting, but I mean, I don't know how they would they don't really have a typical style so much as they're really great about adapting more lighthearted stuff or One Piece and Dragon Ball. Ghibli for sure is up at the top for me. But I would also probably say Sunrise. Sunrise does the Gundam series. They did Code Geass, really, really great stuff. I would love to see kind of like a more, I don't know, do something with that. Toei, by the way, also did Astro Boy back in the day. They're one of the oldest studios. But yeah, then Ghibli, of course. A Ghibli Star Wars anime, Ufotable. Mm-hmm. Ufotable would definitely be up there.
Oh wow, geez, that is like that's like the home run. If Ufotable, which is
Ufotable
they've done the Fate series, and what you probably would recognize Trevor, is the Demon Slayer series. It's just they've raised the bar for animation.
Action animation,
So,
yeah.
mhm.
They're the Fate series animes were always kind of like super like not great, but then Ufotable took them over, and all of a sudden like it's the best fucking fight choreography you've ever seen in your life. And Ufotable would just be Demon Slayer is a great example of them taking kind of like the concept from a manga and turning it into like a like now what is definitely a staple classic animation style that they've done with Demon Slayer and like the breathing forms of the swordsmanship there. Um, Gosh, no, Ufotable is just like top tier, great stuff. Everything they do is gold. Like Ufotable is probably like now that I think about it, like, yeah, Christian's right. That's the home run right there. Ufotable with lightsabers, get like yes, please more.
And I wouldn't call this exactly actually, but I was so sure that Gynex had participation in Fully Cooley. So Frank, you were right. With both production IG and Gynex. Gynex
there
at
you
least
go.
has a created by credit for that. Yeah. So
Oh yeah, because
You-
like I forgot the guy who created it is like like yes, you're right. You are right.
so everybody's right. Gynex and production IG both worked on Fully Cooley, which is a cool anime if you like anime. Yeah.
It's
I,
it's a 90s ass anime is what that is.
Hell yeah.
I know I was not the target of the question, and I certainly don't know the studios behind these things. But I mean, given my limited experience with anime, I would say whoever did Death Note, I would I like them.
That's is Death Note production IG, I think.
I
Oh,
don't.
I see.
I mean, like I feel like whoever did Death Note would have come up and would have like popped up, and I would have included that in the rundown.
Oh
of
no,
these things.
they're Madhouse. There you go. There's an example
Yeah.
of Madhouse.
So-
there you go.
Okay, see, I knew I heard that name somewhere.
So yeah, Death Note, I think as like a very Sith centric story, I think it could be a really cool take.
Madhouse did Summer Wars, by the way. Bring that back to the beginning.
Full circle.
Full circle. Like the studio behind the Persona animes appears to be Cloverworks, at least
Cloverworks
for
would be great, yeah.
for some of the most recent ones. The Pokemon Company, or whoever does the animation of that, I would love to see. Like,
Not anymore. That animation in the current show is trash.
I mean, sure, but like you can say that, and then my last one, which is skirting the line and probably like blasphemous to purists, but I would say RT animators, the team behind Ruby.
yeah.
I'd love to see like them
yeah.
kind of do a story. All right,
That'd be really cool.
Fine, whatever, Cameron. I didn't shit on your ideas, but sure.
Whenever I
Go nuts.
I think of like
I mean-
RT Productions, hold on a second, because the Red versus Blue team, hell yeah.
Okay. Admittedly,
Ruby not so much.
who's the guy that really kind of launched Ruby?
Monty Ohm.
Monty.
Monty
Monty Ohm?
Like,
Yeah,
obviously, it
yeah.
would have been like best if it could have still been him, but obviously that is not a possibility anymore. But like, I mean, just for like, because like long before Ruby, I loved his Dead Fantasy series on YouTube, and so it was like years later when I hear about this like Ruby thing, and that Monty Ohm had worked on it, like basically like when I learned that Monty Ohm had passed, I was like, oh, that sucks, because I loved his stuff like 15 years ago and like early YouTube and stuff like that, because he had such a great eye for like fight choreography, that like I would love to see what that looked like with lightsabers. So if somebody could ape that style, basically, that'd be another really cool sequence. But
I have to take everything back because I forgot RT Studios did
Genlock?
Genlock
So there you go.
kicks
Yeah.
ass. Yeah.
there you go.
I do like those choices. RT, I'm still a fan of like Ruby, and I really like Genlock. I see that's coming out with a new season on HBO Max.
About
soon,
damn
so.
time. My God, I've been waiting
and
forever for that.
I personally wouldn't be mad if the Pokemon studio did that. I understand where Cam is coming from, and I've seen
Well,
the internet.
animation wise, their animation style, like animating stuff, is still really great. It's the character design that's just like,
And my rebuttal to that is that from my limited research, and I've been using a lot of quarantine time to learn more about animation because I really like it. I want to learn more about it. Is understanding a bit more that a lot of those unpopular choices when it comes to the changes in character design are to make it easier for these animators to try new things with animation. It's an unpopular decision because it's less of what people want, but on the behind the scenes end, it definitely is. It helps the actual animators with their process.
Did somebody already mention Studio Bones?
Yeah, that
Yeah,
for me,
Studio Bones.
I recognize them most as like the 2003 Fullmetal Alchemist, which is my favorite Fullmetal Alchemist.
But they're
Studio Bones is
they're
just-
my hero, right? They're
Yeah.
the ones. Yeah, okay.
Oh wow, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Studio Bones is fantastic. They're phenomenal.
Because that was
That
what I
little
just
show.
looked up.
That
I was
little-
like, that's
that
the only
little
other
show
one
that
I can
could.
give you is My Hero Academia, and I already pulled the Minata example earlier. Because yeah, I think any number of the ones. I mean, the Pokemon one or the My Hero one could give you a Toby style of episode that could just
For
be
au- for audiences like
or,
me, yeah.
Or, I mean, or My Hero could just be like a Tatooine Rhapsody as well. Because again, that's like when I watched Tatooine Rhapsody, all I could think about was the music festival episode of My Hero, because that's admittedly
Now-
like my exposure to
Mhm.
that type of episode. But
And now that you mention it, I think the creator, that would be cool to get him involved since obviously he's a big Star Wars fan. One of the characters has a special move called, like, I think it's called the Phantom Menace Punch or Phantom Menace. There's locations called Tatooine Station, Camino, something or other. I
Yeah,
think
the-
Camino
like, yeah.
Ward. So there's
The-
lots of references to Star Wars in my Hero.
That one kid just
Camino
straight up
Ward is
dresses
in it.
like Luke Skywalker.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. True.
And has like the 100%. Yes. No, Camino Ward is also like one of the arcs. Just takes place in Camino Ward. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
he's a massive Star Wars nerd. I love him.
yeah, cool, great question there. Great food for thought there, Frank. Well, let's wrap up with the report card, where we grade the series from A+ to F. I don't remember last time. I think last time we just did like those 3 episodes. So, what would people want to rate these 3 episodes? Christian, we will throw it to you, our guest, first, on a scale of A+ to F.
Am I grading these as a package or individual ones? Individual grades.
Dealer's choice. Go, do whichever you want.
Overall, yeah, an A, a solid A. I think I'll leave it as an A for room for improvement. You know, there's always room for improvement to get that A+, that S tier, if you will.
There you
That'd
go.
be fun if we had. Yeah,
But
but
still-
no, all around, I like these a lot.
A very much high praise from the former host of That Anime Pod. Cool. Frank, how about you?
Yeah, I'm totally with Christian there. I was even thinking it before. I think if I was just kind of ranking these 3 episodes or rating them, I would go with just the A. And then I would obviously, like, I think it's already kind of known, but that if the Ninth Jedi by itself is like an A+ episode for me, like that gets the S rank. And I think that kind of pulls so much of it up for me. But like I said, like all 3 episodes are really good, and there's not really a huge down spot for me where I was like, oh, I want to like turn this off, or I wasn't having a good time. So like I definitely think the whole thing gets an A for me. It's just kind of these 3 episodes.
Cool. Cameron.
A+. Like my last 3, A+. These 3, A+. Will the next 3 also be an A+? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see next week.
I'm gonna guess that's a yes. I'm yeah. I guess maybe you're not into the furry life of Lapa Ocho. Who knows? Or maybe that's the one you really, really love. We will find out next week.
So less about it being a furry and more about it being a heartfelt story about family. Thank you very much, Trevor.
Sure.
Oh my God.
Sure.
Pervert.
Yeah, you're just really into the bunny.
No, actually, it was like the sister's way better. But anyway.
That's fair. You subscribe to the Andy Cortez thought of she cuts herself
Blood
and
eyeshadow.
uses the blood to create eyeshadow.
Oh yeah, when she did
And
that,
that's
and then
just
she
the
cuts her
hottest
knot. That's like, whoa! I did not know that was a thing for me. Huh. We'll discuss more of that next week.
Yeah, we will dive into that next week. I'm right there with you, Frank, on this one. A across the board for these 3, but the Ninth Jedi as a standalone would be an A+ territory for me as well. It's just like a really cool Star Wars thing, and especially having gone through a summer of Star Wars things, it's nice that we can still get those of that like pinnacle and that quality. So Very cool. Well, other extra credit if you like this, you can go check out Star Wars The Bad Batch, Star Wars The Clone Wars, the movie, Star Wars The Clone Wars, the series, The Mandalorian, Clone Wars, the 2D series, Star Wars Rebels, Star Wars Resistance, Disney Gallery, Star Wars, The Mandalorian, and if you watch this in like 2 months, I'll throw out their Book of Boba Fett as well. But yeah, extracurriculars. Anybody watching anything else on Disney Plus these days?
I
Uh,
still need to make. Go ahead, Frank.
I'm sorry. Since we recorded our Treehouse of Horror episodes, I want to just keep going and watch random episodes of The Simpsons because they have all the episodes just totally on there in like nice quality.
Yep.
And so I was just like, man, yeah. And I was like, man, it's this thing that I have just missed since I was a kid because I kind of just became a lapsed fan with like not like on purpose. It just you fell out of it. But I was like, man, this is so good. I love The Simpsons so much. And it's just such like a nostalgia thing to just have on in the background. So that's my kind of extra credit Disney Plus thing.
Nice. You just got to figure out a way to like create a randomizer so you can just kind of do your own in syndication and just decide to watch an episode a night or whatever.
Yes, exactly. I want that so bad for all these old shows like The Fresh Prince and stuff. Like I don't want to think about what episode. I just wanted to put it on and like I can watch it.
Nice. What were you going to say, Christian?
Just that it's still my I'm so used to just booting up my PlayStation and doing either Crunchyroll or YouTube. I always forget Disney Plus is a thing. So that's why I still haven't checked out Raya. Raya is free, right? That's just available and open to watch.
Raya is on
I
Disney
need
Plus.
I need that's on my list to check out. And kind of this is a combination of like extracurricular and extra credit because the Star Wars Visions has some really great behind the scenes mini docs for each episode that I definitely I forget if y'all mentioned this last time, but I just really loved watching those and I wish if anything those were longer, those documentaries, because like there's so many people you can talk to about the process, whether it's the character designers, the writers, the authors, and the directors and others. I just hope we see more of that in the future. But I really like watching those after each episode.
Yeah.
Like, oh, what was the inspiration?
No, excellent. Thank you for catching that, and because that is absolutely a worthwhile shout out. We talked about it a little bit last time, but yes, each episode has its own like dedicated like behind the scenes kind of making of, and then there's like one for the whole series that you can watch all in the extras on the show page for Disney Plus. So great shout. But yeah, and also check out Raya because Raya is really good.
Yeah, and it's not available yet, but I did see just a trailer today for I don't know if it's gonna be a short film or something, but there's like a Luca kind of continuation.
Yes. Yeah, it's
Letters from Alberta or something.
Yeah, it's like I want to say it's gonna be like one of their the ones that played before the movies or whatever. It's it's like the friend. I think at least what I saw was like the friend and the very gruff fisherman guy,
the Ron Swanson of
yes
of Luca.
Exactly. Yes. Luca also another good shout. So yeah, lots of stuff to go check out of there on Disney Plus. I don't think I've been watching it. I have spent the last week and a half just engulfing far too much Dimension 20 stuff. I'm almost done with the Unsleeping City season 1 already, so that has been what I've been up to these days. Yes, thank you everybody for joining me. That is going to do it for this week of That D Plus Show. Thank you for joining me to talk about Star Wars Visions Part 2. We will once again be back next week for Part 3 to talk about The Elder, Lop and Ocho, and Akikira, I think is the last one, maybe? Akakiri.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, Akakiri. So yeah, we will wrap up our time with Star Wars Visions for now next week. So and hopefully we'll get all 4 of us back again for that. I think we're all in on that, but have not like double checked with Christian's schedule or anything like that. But whoever we can get back for that, we'll have next week for that episode.
I'd be happy to, and we'll do my best to make that happen.
Excellent. We always love having you on, Christian. Speaking of, you can follow Christian at PixelBrave. Anything you want to give a shout out to, Christian? Any plugs? Any stuff? I saw you posted something again recently. Some video or something.
I'm just trying to vlog some more, just for my daily life. There was like a town hall kind of meeting in my neighborhood, so I shot that. There was a Day of the Dead event this past weekend, so I went and shot that. So just in general, I've been pretty much low key during most of quarantine, but we're in stage 3 here in Austin, and which is not the best, but there is a bit more lax on outdoor activities, especially if you're double vaxxed, and I'll be getting my booster as soon as I can too. So trying to take some calculated risks as far as how much I participate in events, but overall in general, I do want to get back to creating and editing videos. So I'll be so yeah, just check out Pixel Brave on Twitter and Instagram, or where I like to share videos the most.
Cool.
Right now, if you went to youtube.com/pixelbrave, I've unlisted so many of my videos because I was having kind of a crisis of identity.
Mhm.
What do I want to do with this YouTube channel? And spent a lot of time thinking about the future
Mhm.
and what I want to do, not only that channel, but like my creative aspirations in general. And I guess what I can say is I'm going to be relisting a lot of those. I really do think that that channel will just be kind of a vlog space for, you know, my experiences and sharing those experiences. And the other things I want to do, such as narrative work or political active work, I think I'll find other spaces to put those. So I think I'll be kind of coming full circle and relisting those. So yeah, so for new stuff, check out my Twitter and Instagram, because that's where I'll post it more immediately. And yeah, if you haven't checked out my YouTube channel, it's empty right now, but hopefully give it a subscribe and you'll see a lot of my past work relisted and available to watch again.
Very cool. I actually, so we talked about PAX South this week on That News You Care About, because they announced, of course, that will be closed indefinitely and not coming back. And I was looking back on like PAX South memories, and the first PAX South that I went to and that Frank went to, and where we met with Frank, like you were in that hotel room with us, and I was like, I was looking back through like my blog posts from those days, and I had linked to one of your, like, I think your PSX 2015 like highlight video or something like that, and it was definitely gone. I was like, oh, that's right. Christian went through and unlisted a whole bunch of his stuff. Yeah, it was a good little trip down memory lane. So yeah, like I was of course always a huge fan of your like event videos that you just did better than anyone. So I hope whatever path your journey takes you on, you get back and kind of finding that magic again, and that passion that you had for those things, because yeah, they were real good. Always great seeing you as a creator out there. So yes, absolutely follow Pixel Brave, former nerd of the site, and of course always best friend. You can follow Frank over at Irrelevant Jokes. Anything you want to give a shout out to, Frank?
Yeah. Just a quick shout out to our other podcast, That Nerdy Site Show. The most recent episode, if you're listening to this around when it comes out, is our No Time to Die spoiler cast. But that was a really fun time and a great time sitting down with it. It was Trevor, Logan, and myself, and we were just basically spent like 2 hours just going over everything No Time to Die and some other tangents about other Bond stuff. But like I had a great time, so I recommend people check that one out.
Cool. And you can follow Cameron at Rev Cabot. Anything you want to give a shout out to, Cam?
Yeah, I would want to give a massive shout out to the Let's Plays we're doing over at youtube.com/thatnerdysite. Trevor continues to explore libraries upon libraries of games, and it's always a pleasure to see something surprising pop up that you wouldn't have expected. So,
like Punch-Out and Dr. Mario this week. Thank you. You can follow me at Trevor J. Starkey. I will shout out all of those things, all of the above. And also, I meant to do this at the top of the show, but so we are in year 3 now, and just some general housekeeping. I want to shout out the handful of podcasts that we're actually retiring from our podcast feeds in the coming months. They will still be up here in November and December, but starting in 2022, we'll be retiring basically the podcasts we just aren't actively doing these days, including Christian's former show, That Anime Pod, That Ultimate Video Game List Show, That Wannabe Film Class, and That Conversational Podcast. All of those, if we ever do anything else with them, the existing episodes all live on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/thatnerdysite, in some form or other. And if we end up bringing any of them back in the foreseeable future, they'll come back as a YouTube show, just without a podcast feed. So you have a couple months to download any of those episodes if you want them. Otherwise, they will be kind of retired from Libsyn after that. Trying to think. Oh, we're also winding down our Patreon, so it's actually already kind of turned off. You can't really. I mean, you might be able to still pick a tier, but you're not going to be charged anything. So we have that. That's going to be going away here at the end of this month. So our existing patrons will still get like this last month of goodies and stuff, and early access episodes and all that fun stuff. And then in 2022, we'll probably have a couple of new shows kind of in the works. One in particular that we talked about on this week's That Nerdy Site show is a James Bond watch-along/rewatch series where at least Logan and I, possibly others, will be watching through every official James Bond movie, start to finish. And that's going to be at least half the year right there. So stay tuned for that. We have a couple other ideas that are, percolating out there. Talked with various people about other things. 2022, hopefully we'll start kind of ramping some new ideas and bringing some new flavors to the site and channel. Thank you, everybody, again, for joining me. Thank you, audience, for listening. Check out all that stuff over at That Nerdy Site or thatnerdysite.com. Once again, if you liked what you heard, please like, rate, review, subscribe, share the podcast with your friends, all that fun stuff. Thank you for joining us. As always, stay nerdy, be good to each other, class dismissed, and may the force be with you.
And also with you.
There you go.
I've got a good feeling about this.